And welcome. Raise your inner game today. I'm David Levin. This is the first episode of our new format. So we'll start with ups and downs. What things were lifting me up this week and what things were pulling me down and making life harder. So a lot of stuff, of course. But the first thing that really helped lift me up this week was the election results. I mean, it was incredible relief in so many ways. Like I'm sure a lot of you, super stressful, talking about ups and downs, big downs coming up to it, like for a long period of time. For some reason, I was not as down as maybe I should have been. I heard Michael Moore saying, sharing his thoughts on why it was going to not be bad. And intuitively, that felt right to me. So I kind of stopped paying attention for a while. I was just like, well, we're just going to see. I think it might be all right. And then it was. And then you realize, and this is kind of common, right? You don't necessarily realize how stressed out you are until it's over and you decompress. But I was carrying a lot of stuff there. And I do feel, I really do feel like a lot of that's been lifted. I feel more hopeful, optimistic. There were some disappointments here in Wisconsin. I was super bummed out about Ron Johnson. Jesus. And really, Tim Ryan, I like that guy a lot. I've met him. He seemed like the real deal to me. And of course, still worried about the shit show coming when the Republicans take the House, assuming they do. But overall, still, a lot of lift in that for me, a lot of up in that for me. Another one, a little bit sort of both-sided, I guess, is this new pod format. I mean, this is new, and there's plenty of reasons why it still might not work. There's the worry side of it. But once I got the idea for what I needed to do, how an additional way I could help people and support people, it's pretty exciting, actually. I'm looking forward to it. Still got to work out some details, the logistics, a lot of stuff. But overall, I'm pretty psyched. That's nice. And the last one, this is sort of a generic one. You probably haven't had this pop up a lot, but just yesterday, I don't know exactly what it was, but there's just some moment here at the house. Maybe it was after dinner. We were clearing the table, clearing the dishes, and people were kind of heading off in their own direction. There's just this energy. Peter, our teenager, well, they're both teenagers now, our senior, he's in this mode right now where he likes to give people shit, say things that are clearly not true, just for the jazzo, just kind of mess with you. And anyway, I love the richness of it. Maybe it annoys me a little bit, but even that kind of lights me up. There's something so alive and energetic about it. My family makes me very, very happy. And that's nice. So on the downs, I probably should start with the downs and with the ups, but we'll see how it goes. Winter, not digging it, hit us pretty hard. Actually snow on the ground today, cold. I just don't like it. I mean, everything about it. It's harder. The short days, it's a lot extra work, getting in and out of the house, getting the dog to go to the bathroom. It's just annoying. As I get older, I probably get more crabby about it. I do love skiing, but that's about it. And I could go somewhere else to do that if I really wanted to. I'm making fun, but it actually is a bit of it's a load. It really is. It's an extra thing to carry that I have to kind of shake off and work through. Here's a little one, but it's more, I guess, an example of how things might have gone. It's just a silly little story. But, I put the winter tires on our car this week, and I spaced out that I needed to check the air pressure. So I get in the car, it's all great. I go do an errand, I get the alert that the air pressure's, low. And I'm like, oh, of course, I forgot to check that. They're sitting there in the garage for 6 months. Of course, they're low. So I was like, oh, I better check that out. So I come home. Pull out the compressor. I go put the air pressure gauge on there, and it's not working. It's like the battery seems dead. And crap. All right, I got to swap the battery. So I go in the house, check for batteries. Don't have batteries like that. I open it up. It turns out it's not like the little disc batteries you see. I forget, but the little super thin ones about the size of a quarter. That's what I expected. It's not like a AAA or even one of those special small ones. I think you should think of them as watch batteries. They're about the size of your fingernail, and about as thick as they're thick and they're small around. And there were 3 of them in there. Like, oh, for crying out loud! So now I got to go to the hardware store. and see if they've got them. And they've got them, but they're $6 a piece. It's going to cost me $18 to put new batteries in this stupid pressure gauge. Like, well, maybe I should go to Walmart, see if they're cheaper over there. Long story short, the trip goes on and on and on. It ends up taking me almost an hour to just check the pressure and get my tires up to pressure. And so I guess the good part of the story is that kind of thing is actually a pretty good gauge for how I'm doing with my inner game. Like, there'd be some days where that would actually make me crabby. It's funny, it's a little embarrassing to say, but I could be really pissy about that on some days. This day didn't get me too bad. So that was good. It was good to just to see that I wasn't in my extremely crabby sort of space. It worked out fine. Ended up getting another one. It cost me less to get a brand new one that'll be easier to work with than to replace the batteries in that one. And then the third thing I wanted to mention, because it is sort of an interesting sort of downward pull. I haven't talked to you for a while, but I lost a bunch of weight this last period, like 25 pounds. And I've been trying to I've been using the Noom app, which I really recommend. Obviously, it works great. I've been trying to get down a little bit more because, when you start out and you're overweight, you don't really know exactly where you want to end up. So, 25 sounded incredible, of course. But I got to 25. I was like, well, I still could go a few more, I think, before I really transitioned to the maintenance mode versus the losing mode. Well, that's like 2 months ago. Some things have come up. I have not been maybe as sharp as I could consistently. So the point is, the thing that's kind of worrying for me now is I'm getting to the point where I'm a little nervous that I might not be able to do the maintenance part. The mode where I'm actually losing weight, I'm actually in a calorie deficit. I don't think that's sustainable, and I don't think it should need to be sustainable, right? There should be a time when you can actually take in what you need, right, and maintain. But I'm starting to get a little nervous that that's not gonna work. That you hear so much about why people gain their weight back. It has to do with how the body readjusts and how much more quickly we put fat back on, and how we adjust our. I'm not going to get the words right, but our body gets more efficient. It doesn't need as much, but our appetite doesn't go down with it. So we end up hungrier than we actually need, which was kind of my problem to start with anyway. I'm hungry. My appetite is more than I actually need. And my concern is that's just going to stay now, and that it's going to be way harder than I thought to get into maintenance mode. Anyway, it's a little worrisome. And it actually does kind of weigh on me. I notice. I think about it quite a bit. Because every day I'm calorie counting and all that. And anyway, a little worried. Probably be fine, but this is concerning. All right, so that is that section, the ups and downs. Again, the idea here is just to share the things that affect my inner game, both directions. Sort of as a way to commiserate a little bit, but also to just let you know that you're not alone with these kinds of struggles. It's the nature of life. We have things in our lives that are helping us make things easier and that are make things harder. And it's good to know that it's kind of normal, but also to know that you can just, push through them, and it's all part of it and it's all fine. All right. So that is that. Next up, our next segment is called the Raise Your Inner Game Weather Report. All right, your inner game weather. I love that cool music. So the idea here is, it's just a quick check-in. How's your inner game today, and what the next few days look like? Light load, regular load, or heavy load where you might need to do something to raise your inner game. And the reason to talk about this here is that it's helpful to always be paying some attention to your inner state from day to day. How am I doing? What's going on for me? Am I feeling and being the way I want? And also to look ahead about what's coming up that'll make things feel hard or chaotic or whatever, so you know what to expect, and maybe you can make some adjustments if you need to. So I'll share what's going on with my weather report and forecast, because I guess I like talking about myself. Not really. I really just want to remind you how common and normal how normal all this is, like I said, the ebb and flow of the inner gravity in our lives, and to encourage you to do the same kind of personal inner weather report for yourself, because it really is helpful. So, how am I doing today? Oh, goodness. Pretty good. Sleep's been good. That's always a thing. Energy, pretty good. You know, it varies. I get a little older, not always all that energetic, but good today. Got a run-in yesterday, which was nice. Looks like I'll get some good stuff done today, like this, for example. Family calendar, not too busy. So today, pretty good. And how does the upcoming week look? Also pretty good. I mentioned not crazy about the weather, and it's cold ahead of us. I'll need to adjust my workouts, maybe do more treadmill runs versus outside, which is not my favorite. Just a couple of meetings and phone calls, but otherwise pretty open. Should be able to get my rhythms, keep my rhythms going, get some good stuff done. That's all nice. Those rhythms are really critical to feeling like things are going well. So I would say no need to do anything out of the ordinary for my inner game this week. That's great. So how about you? How's your inner game today? And how does your upcoming week look? Think about that. And we will move to our top stories. All right, top stories. Always a lot going on. But today I am thinking about Ukraine. As I sat down to write this, I saw news that Ukraine was under a new attack in cities across the country. It was not troops to troops, which is bad enough. This is missiles raining down on civilian cities and designed to terrorize and knock out infrastructure. Can you imagine the inner gravity, the load of having another country attacking you if you had no power or water or heat in freezing weather like this? Because people from the next country were sending missiles into your city. Can you imagine how angry and fearful and desperate you would feel? I honestly sort of can't. I think I would not deal with that well at all. I'm a big worrier. I have a bit of a paranoid streak. That's just psychologically worrying about Margaret and the kids. I would have a really hard time with that. On top of that, I'm kind of a baby when it comes to creature comforts. My family will attest to that. And all of these are exactly the kind of things that pull us down to our lower levels. It's threats, both real and imagined. Most of the time in America, the threats we fear are imagined. We're not really in much danger. We've just convinced ourselves, or let ourselves be convinced, that we are. And even with that, it's making us crazy. But to live in a place where there are real threats every day that are there because individual people are choosing to terrorize us, that's a whole other level. So I just wanted to think about the people there today under threat and attack and in those conditions, and just appreciate how incredibly unimaginably hard that must be, and hope that they're able to find some space in it and to still connect with each other and hope for the future. I don't know if I could do it. So we have a Tolstoy scale, which is how well something serves humanity. This comes from the quote I include at the end of the book from Leo Tolstoy. The sole meaning of life is to serve humanity. This awful war in Ukraine is as low as it can go. This is sub-zero, off the bottom of the scale. How dare you? The people who are doing this, making the decisions every day, launching the missiles, terrorizing the population, how dare you? Have you no decency? As the famous phrase says. This is as wrong as anything can be. We have to stand up to it and be absolutely clear that it cannot happen. They will pay for it. They will pay to rebuild. They will no longer be accepted in the world community. It simply cannot be allowed, at least as far as I'm concerned. All right, next up, our quote of the week. All right, this week's quote comes from Pietro Aretino. I hope I'm saying that right. An Italian who lived around the year 1500, so he probably wouldn't be too offended if I mispronounce his name. The quote says, "I am indeed a king because I know how to rule myself." He wasn't actually a king, but he understood the importance of self-mastery. Again, I am indeed a king because I know how to rule myself. Being able to rule yourself, really is the most important ability. Self-mastery over your thoughts, emotions, and your physical impulses. The specific skills for those are called cognitive control for your thoughts, emotional self-regulation, obviously for your emotions, and impulse control, which is about your physical state and appetites and sensations. If you can manage and control those three realms, you can stay focused and on track and consistently be the kind of person you want to be. It's really about as simple as that. And you can pretty easily learn those skills. But it doesn't work to simply have the skills. They're not something fixed that you learn and then you're set. They need to be used on a consistent basis to overcome the things that keep us from being the person we want to be. Distraction, upset, appetite, and so on. So the real question isn't, can you develop them? Because again, you definitely can. The question is, are you willing to do the work of using them to lift yourself up to where you want to be so you can serve the people in your life and yourself? That's a much more challenging question. And not just because it's long. The good news is that's what we're here for. The purpose of this pod and our charging station community is to support you in doing that work. Anyway, that's our quote of the week. I am indeed a king because I know how to rule myself. It's all about self-mastery. All right, next up, our charging station challenge of the week. My, it's heroic. It's very heroic. I mean, it is heroic work. Anyway, the charging station challenge is something we'll do probably every week. Just some little thing to focus on for the week ahead to help us be a little bit sharper and more awake. And challenges can be great for that and a lot of fun. And the reason it's called the Charging Station Challenge is because we will also be hosting an online version in our charging station community. So that means there'll be a place there for you to post your daily actions, connect with others, cheer them on, have them cheer you on. It's actually very helpful and more fun to do a challenge in a group. So you don't need to do that, but if you want, you can log into the community and do the challenge there. It's free. You just need to register. If you're not in the community yet, go to the site, raiseyourinnergame.com, scroll down, register for the mental game starter kit. That's for parents of teenage athletes, but you don't need to do anything with that. It's just hosted inside the community. So register for the kit to get in, but then just go straight to the challenge. It's one of the first things you see when you log in. So for this week, as we're getting started, let's just do an easy one. Take the quote of the week and think about it once a day. So make a note somewhere, write down the quote, and then just find a moment to think about it again. I am indeed a king because I know how to rule myself. And if you're in the community, post a comment or just, I thought about it today. All right, that's it for this week's Charging Station Challenge. Once a day, think about the quote, post a comment in the community if you're participating in there. All right, that's it for this inaugural episode. I think this might be fun. I look forward to hearing from you, what you think. This is planned to be our Tuesday format. We'll have another show on Fridays with different segments and topics, plus special guests, I hope. And all together, along with the charging station community, that is the new show. It's going to take a little bit to get all the pieces in place, like this one isn't on Tuesday, for example. But that's the idea, and we should have it dialed in pretty well within a couple of weeks. If you like what you heard, please follow, download, and subscribe. Sign up for the charging station for even more inner game boosting goodness. And finally, remember, Leo Tolstoy, the ultimate purpose in life is to serve humanity. That's what we're doing. It's super important. Keep up the good work, and we'll see you next time.